I am the unnamable, unutterable, unspoken one, the silence of silence. I am Sabaoth, Chaos, the Stormbringer Demiurge, the Wanderer, Votan.
Months slipped into years as Merylin settled into life at Pendragon Castle. At first he watched the boy from a distance, patient and careful, waiting for the moment he had long foreseen. That moment came one misty night when the figure he had loved in another life returned to him with news that cracked the silence of his new existence. Humans called her Mab the Mad. Other tongues spoke of Baba Yaga, Maleficent, Morgana of Cornwall. Those were only the names wound into the histories of men. Her true name belonged to an older world, an ancient secret the telling of which would stir old magics, a name that was meant for another to know. She was of the Fae, one of the lost kinfolk who had once walked openly among men. In the body now occupied by an entity called Chaos, Merylin came from the Pictish tribes and was a cousin to the Fae, closer in their way to the sprightly pixies. The Picts and the Fae had a long, bitter history. The Fae prized stillness and poise. The Picts delighted in uproar, revel, and ungovernable mirth. The Fae found the Picts intolerable. The Picts chafed against the Fae's rigid sanctimony. Each accused the other of hypocrisy. The Fae claimed cultural superiority. The Picts accused the Fae of cold stagnation. Those accusations festered across generations until they had become the bedrock of enmity between two peoples who once might have been family. Merylin and Mab's love was flung like a torch into this tinder. When their affair was discovered, both courts reacted with cruelty. Mab was cast out of the Fae courts by her father, a high sage of the Seelie Council who governed Fae affairs with austere judgment. Merylin's people were more pragmatic but no kinder. They sent him on a penitential pilgrimage to become a sage, a redemption ritual meant to erase his culpability for fraternizing with the Fae and to placate the fearful who dreaded a war born of scandal. Yet both exile and pilgrimage were small matters in the design. They served Chaos, who inhabited Merylin's body, knew that these two lovers were threads of destiny woven in a tapestry whose pattern stretched far beyond the petty courts of Pendragon. And at its center, he knew, stood the boy. Mab slipped through his tower window like a finger of fog and paused beside the candlelight where Merylin bent over crumbling scrolls.
"Oh, my dear," she said, "put those ancient scrawlings down. I have news from the Seelie Council."
He looked up with a scholar's hunger.
They listened.
Not my father. Mab's voice shivered with old resentment, but enough of them could not deny your warning. If that boy is the one of prophecy, then the Dark One's return is no longer a remote terror. Even if the prophecy says the boy will defeat him, we cannot predict the breadth of destruction that will come before that day. They insist we prepare.
That boy? Merylin set his book aside, intrigued. Which boy do you mean?
Mab's eyes grew wide and fearful. They told stories, horrible things. From before our banishment, they say the Dark One once hunted and ate us. He was one of the Avengian hybrids, human and other, and he turned against us all. She swallowed. We must be ready. Merylin took her hand and felt the tremor beneath her skin. I will not let anything happen to you. He said chaos answered him in the space between thoughts with the same promise. Mab only sighed, distrustful. The high-faced sage of the water temple will take you and the boy to see the guardian of the forest. Be careful. There are tales of beasts of men turned to horns and hooves, like your Minotaur myths. We shall see who is the beast. Merylin murmured, a smile that the shadows could not unweave, curling his lips. Mab pressed her fingers to his chest as if she could feel warning beating inside him. There is something inside you, Merylin. This chaos, the old legends do not speak well of it. It is an evil thing, but I must wonder, can evil find salvation from its own nature here and defeat its title? He stretched across his bed, the lines of a man who had known too much ease. "We shall see in the morning," he answered. The morning came with frost on the parapets. Merylin descended his tower to give young Arthur's first lessons. He had insisted on quarters apart from the main keep. Many an experiment had left his prior home scorched with marks and blown shutters. And so a high, solitary, safer turret served as his study. The climb back up after the day's lessons was always worse, but for now the courtyard held the boy. Arthur practiced swordplay under Thron Pendragon's captain, who had softened toward Merylin since recovering from a winter fever cured by a curious potion the scholar had brewed. Chicken noodle soup, a recipe learned from sages in the East. The captain's thanks had been simple, a nod in the reluctant warmth of a man.
"Yes," Merylin answered, his voice seeming to come from several places at once. "We go to the deep forest today. Thrawn joked nervously, yell if you need aid, and excused himself. Merylin found Arthur in the shade of the training yard. His hair a fair gold already showing brown undertones, eyes a pale clear blue that held too much thought for a boy of his age. They walked towards the forest. Arthur's curiosity spilled before him like a lantern. "I read the scrolls you sent. I understand how rock and fire make molten rock, but how do water and fire mix to make what supports life?" Merylin softened. "The sea boy is like a great tea kettle, but its surface is like a mirror. The sun heats it as the surface narrows, its light passing through glass if focused right, like steam from a kettle. The sea breathes clouds, and when cold air touches that steam, it becomes water again and falls as rain. And rain makes the green things grow. It trickles down the mountains into the valleys and makes rivers and streams, then back into the seas again. The cycle returns to the sea and begins again." Arthur paused, thinking as if fitting a puzzle. So the sea is a kettle, and the sun is the fire. Everything returns in a circle. "Exactly," Merylin said, and the voice inside him hummed with a scholar's pride. He felt a narrower, sharper thrill, not merely that the boy understood, but that the understanding came so naturally. It hinted at something older, a latent order or destiny. They entered a glade where a lake lay like a polished mirror. The water rippled and rose, for a fountain plumed from its center. From that plume walked a woman as though descending a stair of spray. Her feet did not sink, and her hair glinted like moon-washed silk. "Welcome, Merylin. Welcome, young Arthur. I am Gadriel, the Lady of the Lake," she said. Her voice was water and wind and old stone. "It has been a long time, Merylin, 200 years, has it not?" "Gadriel," Merylin replied with a grin that belied the weight behind it. "Too long. How fares the council?" Gadriel's face clouded. "Ill news. A shadow stirs and looms over us all." "Is this him?" Merylin kept the woman's curiosity at bay with a steady hand. "Yes. This is Arthur Pendragon." Gadriel's eyes closed briefly, then opened with a glow that lit the glade. "This boy has been touched by destiny," she breathed behind it. "I see a warrior whose face I cannot see, for it is too bright." She gasped. "Can it be the legendary warrior?" She trailed off in thought. Merylin bowed his head, not in deference, but to temper expectation. "Touched, perhaps, but touch is not ill fate. We must be careful not to read calamity into every sign." Arthur, bewildered by the exchange, asked the question that always cleaved the air between childhood and responsibility. "What's happening? Who are you?" Gadriel sat by the lake and gestured for Arthur to come near. "Sit, Prince," she said softly. "Listen, for this is a tale older than your name. Merylin told the story as one who had lived it twice, of the entity born beyond time whose essence had wandered the cosmos, of a being swept into this particular weave of world and flesh, of how that being had once been something other, a living shadow and an ominous enemy. Someone called the Dark One, an Abregmerylin hybrid whose conquest had scarred the earth and driven the sages to war. He spoke of the Seelie Council gathering in fear, of ancient sages sealing the Dark One within a forbidden realm, suspended in a tomb of living stone where time did not touch him. He told them of the prophecy. One day a child would be born who could retrieve the blade forged not of iron but of light. Demiurge, the Stormbringer, lift it from its bed of stone and end the Dark One's shadow forever. As we speak, Merylin said, "We are on our way to see whether you are the one who can draw that blade. Only the Chosen One may lift it. And if you are indeed he, the burden will be yours to bear." Gadriel's gaze, old and fathomless, rested on Arthur. For a long moment silence spread like frost over the glade. "Merylin, can you hear him, the light warrior? He speaks through me into my fears. He says, 'Let not the sins of the father fall upon the shoulders of the son to bear its weight.'" The birds held their breath. Merylin felt chaos stirred inside him. Not a roar so much as a pulse, a reminder of the destiny coiled in his own bones and in the boy before him. Arthur spoke up. "I know what this means. It means do not let the mistakes done by the father fall upon his sons to pay the price for that. Each man be held accountable for his own deeds, right or wrong." Merylin looked at the boy. "You can understand the words of the warrior of light?" Merylin said with astonishment. Arthur replied, "Yes, you just must listen with your heart, not your ears." He said,
"Then let us go," Gadriel whispered at last. "If fate has turned its eyes towards this kingdom, then we must be ready. Not merely to watch the boy prove himself, but to learn what it will cost all of us when the world remembers how ravenous fear can be." They rose together. Merylin, Gadriel the sage of the Water Temple, and the boy whose small hands already clenched as if around a sword he had not yet seen, and walked into the forest's hush. Beneath the leaves old oats waited. Between the roots and the loam, prophecies breathed, and somewhere sealed in stone and silence, a thing once called Abregmerylin dreamed of the day its name would be remembered.